Oh, welcome everybody to the Rugby Scoop podcast. This Sunday afternoon, South African time, 4 p.m. It's beautiful, it's sunny, it's warm. We're wearing shorts this time of the year. Jade Craig, how are you doing after a massive victory for the All Blacks on Saturday afternoon or evening in Johannesburg? Talk to me.
I'm buzzing, bro. I'm buzzing. I'm still buzzing. I'm still watching those highlights. I'm still looking at that scrum on the 56th minute and wondering how the hell did that happen? You know, we were against the ropes, bro. We were against the ropes.
No, fair.
I'm buzzing, bro. I'm buzzing.
No, fair. I mean, it was a tense game for 50, 60 minutes, I guess. And yeah, All Blacks probably sucked it up and contained the pressure quite well. But obviously, we will be dissecting pretty much everything that transpired in the game last night, the breakdown, scrums, line out, general attack, and obviously some moving parts. Siya Kolisi missing another big occasion. We understand that he missed the first test against England as well. He didn't play in the Nations Championship, right? His first game was against Argentina. Rassie did say in his post-match, or not post-match, but in the week leading up to the first test, that they made a choice or they made a decision to not select him. But he is fit and ready to play. So he probably will be playing in Cape Town moving forward. But yeah, that's where we start talking regarding the week. Let's build it up nicely. Regarding the week, from the press conferences on Monday to Tuesday, a lot of things have been said during the week about the All Blacks breakdown, and obviously Felix Jones coming out and talking about tucked arms and things like that. There seemed to be quite a lot of controversy surrounding the test match, but by the looks of things, Matthew Carley did not seem to be fazed by anything that was said in the media during the week. But yeah, let's touch base on the thoughts regarding what we saw in the media conferences leading up to the test match.
The build-up to the test.
Yeah.
I mean, it was... We were speaking last week about it. We mentioned on the pod that it's just relatively been quiet from South Africa's perspective. All focus has been on New Zealand, you know. Every chit-chat has come through from New Zealand in terms of prep, in terms of how they'll do against the European teams. And then Monday, Rassie being Rassie, walked in with Jacob Paper into his presser. And that's when, you know, it all started.
Yeah.
And Paper coming in. I mean, obviously, we spoke of Paper's role in the Bok team. Every team has an official in their coaching role. So Paper is just very hands-on, you know, and very more visible to the public in terms of his relationship with Rassie. I mean, Dan and Rassie are all based themselves in Bloemfontein for a large period of their lives. So, I mean, it's a given, you know, they're all friends and so. But yeah, I mean, that started everything. And also the media schedule. I mean, you had the All Blacks first pre-test match press conference on Monday.
Yeah.
It was half an hour after the boxes. So you couldn't get New Zealand journals really in the boxes press conference, and you didn't really get a lot of Africans in Reddy's press conference.
Yeah.
So, you know, with that as well, I think it's a lot of mind games between the two media teams, you know. And then it went on. And I mean, we had Dave Rennie striking back, and then Felix Jones coming in, and then Dave Rennie making the smart move of, you know what, they sent an email out to the officials. They sent what they should watch on and what they should work on, and he's not going to spend too much time with that. And that was very classy from Rennie, you know. And that was where I saw, okay, this guy's not going to he's not like Razor or Fozzie and those guys. He's not going to get involved and sucked in with this media nonsense back and forth. He's
Yeah.
going to nip it in the bud over there. So Scoop, I mean, from your side as well, I mean, you've been following it the whole tweet. I mean, how did you feel about it? Because that was the perfect build-up. It was flat. Everybody was waiting for the rugby. We were waiting for the jabs and the punches to come. And then Rassie started to jab,
Yeah, no. I think for my side, I think it almost gave me a feeling of the build up to the second test after the British and Irish Lions were visiting South Africa in 2021. I think we had a lot of that. Yes, obviously, there was concern regarding conversations with officials that has been scrapped by World Rugby. So a lot of things now need to be aired or they don't need to be aired, actually. You don't have to say those things in the media. You don't have to bring a Yaku paper in the media. And I said last week, if anyone could go back to last week's pod, where I said 99% of the time, if you try and influence an official via media, or even if you set up a meeting with them, 99% of the time, you lose that game going into that match. 99% of the time, officials look at things that you've pointed out and shared with them, right? So I think, what I said was practically true, looking at the result from yesterday, and obviously what had been said leading up to the game about tuck shoulders and things like that. But nonetheless, none of those things actually came up last night in the match. None of the things that were mentioned in the media came up in the match. And I think Matthew Carley, I mean, credit where it's due. Most of the time we're always complaining about officials. And I think this time around, we can give him props for the way they handled the game. Obviously mistakes will always be there, 100%, but the way he kept the game flowing, there were no non-decisions, there were no high-impact decisions in that game that could have swayed the game either, or
and
he allowed the teams
responsibility for his decisions.
100%. He took responsibility for his decisions.
Coming of age test match for him, where he puts himself up there as one of the top officials now in the world. I think it's a turning point in his
career. That's a very good point as well. So just talking about the lead up to the game, the media frenzy. The next point, I saw Skulk Senior tweeting earlier this morning. Jade spoke about arrogance. Would you say that maybe a tad bit of arrogance from Springboks' perspective leading into this game? From all the games they've been winning, they've played. I think I've mentioned a few times that they haven't been tested. I think Scotland was probably the best test for them throughout this year, and they haven't been tested much, the Springboks, in a few games, But what are your thoughts regarding Skulk Senior, not Skulkberger Junior, Skulkberger Senior? Who said that? We got drunk of our own arrogance.
And this comes also with the time. And so when South Africa became successful and became the dominating team in world rugby, it's also been a time where social media exploded. If you look at it, for example, when New Zealand was successful from that period of until 2017 and thereabout, social media wasn't that successful. People would post the odd post up on Facebook. There wasn't this many podcasts. TikTok wasn't alive, and the real banter element wasn't there between supporters. I think a lot of it, arrogance, is this banter and then there's arrogance as well, but there's a fine line between it. And I just saw now Shailen's post. Shailen's been rubbing up the box for the box supporters, since he's joined the platform. And we don't know if Shailen is really who is the person behind Shailen's account, but just the way he put it there, death threats, arrogance, and where does that come from, So I think South Africa, from South African perspective, a lot of the guys state that they've been there during the Alice Kutsia, the Heineke Meyer era. What's the guy's name? Rudolf Straull, they've been there in the dark times. And they don't forget about it. So for me, a lot of this arrogance has come on now. It's just also because there's so much banter on social media. And it's really in your face at the moment. And there's so many platforms that we can connect in, People, all they need now is a platform and a few points that everybody agree with. And then you think they're top tier journal. on social media. So there's a lot of guys that's doing that. So I think obviously there will be arrogance if a team is good. I mean, the Boxers beaten the All Blacks 4 out of the last 5 times, so they were very confident coming in. We knew that the All Blacks would struggle with physicality. The Box knew they are arguably the most physical team of all time. I don't think there was a physical team ever like this. I mean, the scrum. I mean, Scoop, we can say it. We can mention it, and we can say, I think this is the greatest scrum of all time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there's a scrum that's been more dominant and powerful like this. So they've got all of these things in them. So that's why they were arrogant. And they've got a coach that backs. What can I say? He backs up what he speaks. You know, he backs it up. So for me, there was a feel good factor, and now they're humble. And it's just for me how they approach now this period where they are humble. If New Zealand loses the next 2 tests, we will remember this test. We'll remember the Ellis Park test where New Zealand came in and they humbled them. So they humbled them really now. So for me, I don't think it's arrogance. I think it's more of, they don't know how to handle the banter. And that's where it came from, you know, and that's where this whole dark cloud on social media is coming through. So, yeah.
Okay, no, fair enough. Now moving on, Jade, to the second part, obviously also part of this lead up, before we dissect and break down the game accurately. The fact that Rassie Erasmus asked the South African supporters to remain silent during the haka and allow New Zealand to perform it without interruptions. He explained that Tony Brown had changed the team's perspective on what the haka represents. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, Rassie was one of the people who wanted was one of the people who wanted to find ways to challenge the haka, for example, or ways to disrupt All Blacks, and couldn't care less about this. Now he's asking 60,000 South Africans to stand quietly and respect it. Is that maturity? Is that an evolution from his side? Or has Rassie lost a bit of edge? Or maybe Dave Rennie is one of those people maybe he respects a bit. I won't say rattled, because I know, I mean, in World Rugby, when he even started as a Springbok coach, Wales was one of his toughest opponents. And also he would try and find ways to beat Warren Gatland, but he couldn't. And I think that's also what stemmed into that video analysis that we saw in 2001 when Gatland was the Lions coach. But now with Dave Rennie at the helm with the All Blacks, we're seeing a different shift, or I'm personally seeing a different shift. Could be wrong, but we always try and analyze everything we see, right? Because we know we've been following Rassie now in this tenure for the past, 8 to 10 years. And yeah, would you say, is it maturity? Is it evolution? Or Rassie has lost a bit of edge?
I wouldn't say lost edge. I'd just say that, you know, there is the Tony Brown element as well in it, because Tony Brown is a New Zealander. He knows what the haka means to the New Zealand public, to the Polynesian public, actually, you know. Because, I mean, we have the Sipitals, everything that's done in Fiji and Samoa and Tonga, also before games, the walk rides that they do there. So he knows the importance of that and what that means to the culture from that side. So I think he gave that explanation to Rassie. And also 2 years ago, the last game they played at Ellis Park, sorry for my language, but what was a fuck up with the haka? We had the plane flying over while the haka was going on, people making a noise. Can you remember? In Razor's
Yeah.
And I think that also came through where there must have been some sanction or something said, you know, from senior management or senior level from SA Rugby stating it, guys, come on, we got to be better. You know, we got to respect this, because this is throwing everything out of the window. It's throwing everything, the rivalry, everything up. Because now it's a difference between, you know, challenging the haka and being outright rude, you know. And not respecting it at all. So I think of that also. I don't think Rassie's lost his edge. I still think there's a lot of elements that came in. But preferably, I think everybody that goes to the test match and watches it, part of them wanting to watch the All Blacks, and part of them wanting to see them play live, is they want to experience the haka live as well. And I've been in a crowd where you couldn't hear anything with the haka. All you hear is ole going on in South Africa. That's that good, you know. But the last time in Cape Town I was there was the first time they did it, where they had a sign and a poster on the sign on the big screen saying "Respect the haka." respect the half. And for me, that was a turning point. And that was the week after that whole debacle at Ellis Park happened, where plane flying over and everything. So I think it's that. I think there was a lot said about it. And I think, no, hats off to South Africa. Because if Rassie Erasmus is hard on and saying in his press conference, yeah, we have 11 languages and we have different cultures, and different religions in that group. So surely enough, this must have been something from them. Let's respect the Haka because we respect our team culture as well.
Fair. Oh, no, well put, Jade. Well put. Now, the actual game, Jade. The big talking points. We're going to cover every single aspect. This is our big section for this conversation. The Springboks were physical. You mentioned that earlier. They were dominant in a lot of carries. I think Jasper Wiese stood out for me. And if the Springboks had won the game, I think Jasper Wiese would have been the guy I would have been singled out in that whole entire game as a standout player. Usually a Peter Steph Tutoy is the guy that usually stands out for the Boks. He was pretty quiet, but Jasper Wiese stood out for me in this game. But nonetheless, Springboks were physical, had a very good scrum, brilliant scrum. But even at times, I think maybe we could just watch how much walking around is done. I understand scrum dominance, and I think we've spoken about that before as well. You need to actually push straight for dominance. But now when you start pushing straight with your foot that steps out of the scrum as a prop, and then you walk around and then still say that is dominance, I have an issue with that. But regardless of that, that's Springbok scrum is still very dominant. But Boks got significant dominance. All Blacks struggled to stabilize that scrum. South Africa were getting exactly the exact platform you'd expect in a game like this. But obviously, at times, they fumbled, They came across some big hits. They came across a more organized defense as well. Yes, I can sit here and say the All Blacks played well, but when I rewatched the game, I didn't see much from the All Blacks, actually. I just saw them being clinical, getting into a 22, clinical, coming away with points. And I didn't see a lot of what I saw against Ireland and France. And what I saw yesterday was exactly the same playing style I saw when I saw them use at Eden Park. We're not going to be too fancy. We're not going to try too many things. And also one of the big topics during the week, right, was the fact that All Blacks need to play the ball a bit more. And the All Blacks didn't play a lot of ball. They just found themselves in good areas and they converted and then went back into their own 22 and waited to receive a kickoff. But yeah, what did you see or what stood out for you, Jade, in this game?
I think we're going to have to start from an element of what you mentioned it in the scrums and just give a background into that, our mindset this group. Especially you, that's coming from coaching and refereeing perspective. I mentioned it earlier, and I'm not going to walk away from it. And I'm really not. I think the Boks scrum currently is the best scrum of all time. If you're looking at a more dominant scrum, you look at what New Zealand did was Franks. I think it was Franks and Woodcock and Co., where they had for 5 years never gave away a penalty or a turnover on their ball, but they were never so dominant. They never looked like this. This is a weapon, and what they can do to you on your ball, it's scary. It's scary. You got from the mindset and from onset already of the game, you thinking of channel one ball, getting the ball in and out and going. And when you're doing that, also your eightsman is not bind. He's really not, because he's got to be on his haunches. Even your flanks also got to be alert, as to what's happening, because they got to go and clean up as quick as possible, because that eightsman's going to pick up their ball immediately. So we don't have that full out and out scrum. Like George Bauer said when he came in his press he did, or in his interview he did with Limas Pawanga, where he said he needed all 5 guys to give him the herbs from behind. That was brilliant and well said. I don't think.
Yeah, I can hear you now. You went off for a second, yeah.
Sorry. Like I'm saying, I don't think the All Blacks. How can I say? I don't think it's so much for putting the foot out and scrubbing it. I think at the heat, that's where Lomax and De Groot lost it already. I think when they took, if you look at those scrums again and look at the heat, They were always on the back foot with the heat. Now with Bauer and Fletcher Newell, if they lost the heat, they stood steady and they stood square. And
they anchor. They anchored that scrum.
Anchored. And in allowing them to get the second shove through, because their body position was in a much better position than what Lomax and the Groot. Maybe it's suited them because they're shorter. They're shorter props because Lomax and Groot are quite tall, They're quite tall props. So maybe it's suited them in that aspect where they could get that perfectly, like the old man would say. You can iron a t-shirt on the back. It's that you want that form. You can iron a t-shirt on the back. So that's where. If you look at Richard Newell, that's what he was doing. Mm-hmm. But it's still scary to think of what Wilco Louw, Marks, and Ox did to that front row. They had them panicking, and that for me is a big concern that the All Blacks got to look at. We don't know if the group will play the weekend. I don't think he'll play. So Bowen was like to start, and then we'll have Numia coming in as well. I saw they called up Ofatuanga Fassi now as cover, yeah. So he meant Jamie Anderson coming in. So that for me is the main thing, with the box. They got a very dominant scrum, but you got to look at ways to get around it and beat it. Scotland did it for the first 60 minutes against them. England did it to a certain extent when they had Genge and Hayes on. So New Zealand did it in the last 25 minutes or so, where they actually got some ascendancy at scrum time, stability. So for me, I feel you got to look at that. If you're utilizing the box there, you're taking away a weapon, and you're taking away 4 to 5 penalties that they can easily piggyback off from and get interest into your 22 from, or get a free play from in your 22, and really hurt you from there. Then, I don't know, Scoop, how do you feel about that scrum? Because you mentioned the outside foot and the
So fair, understandable. And I think for myself, I'm not saying that the Springbok scrum is not dominant. I think they are very dominant and they're very good at it. And as you mentioned, the head was quite important. And I also put like 2 clips out on my timeline as well regarding the scrums. And I thought, for me personally, the back 5, the New Zealand back 5, so your locks, your 2 flankers, and your 8th man, Fabian Holland is a bit high at scrum time. So how he binds behind De Groot, or is it either Lomax or De Groot, his shoulder is almost on the middle part of the bum in the bind. So you're supposed to be just under or just below the bum as a lock to also get that, to also assist on the hit, right? And also most of the time his legs are a bit overextended, so you don't get that 90-degree angle on his feet, so that you know that the shove and the push is going to be it's going to have some power, so that power is generated from him and his and Lord, and also Luke Jacobson, and who was 6, Tupavai, and then Adi Severe can really then be relaxed at the back of the scrum, or he could also just put his head down and make it an all 8 movement. Because the Springboks, whether it's their ball or it's the opposition ball, it's all 8 players.
Yeah.
The All Blacks want to just push with maybe just the tight 5. It's not going to work against the Boks. You need all 8 to start pushing. So my issue was that the All Blacks just on the detail, because this is something that they need to fix. I mean, Jason Ryan, I don't know, it's either Jason Ryan or who's the other guy from Taranaki? Barnes. I don't know who's in charge of the scrums, but they really need to work on that detail going into Cape Town, because Cape Town's going to be wet. It was dry in Johannesburg last night. Cape Town's going to be wet. And Cape Town, it's going to be wet underfoot. It's going to be a different ball game at scrum time with slippery surface. So they really need to work on their detail and just make sure that they get it right. For me, if you can just anchor and not get pinged at scrum time, that's one problem solved. Because we also saw how well they did with the mauls. We took away the Springboks mauling aspect or threat. Because I know someone during the week, I think it was Rugby, who said it would be difficult for the All Blacks this week because they are ill-disciplined. And I mean, it's the Springboks that got yellow cards, and discipline was an issue for them in the last 20 minutes. It is almost similar to Wellington, but with the All Blacks now winning winning the game. This game was very similar to everything that happened and transpired in Wellington, to be honest. But the bench for the All Blacks is what stood out for me personally, and how they navigated through that last 20, the last quarter of the game, managing the scrum set, taking any threat from the Springboks out. I know the Springboks also faced a few injuries to Ketley Arendse, to a cramp, to who's this, Bobby as well. So they had to make a lot of shifts in the backline. But their backline was not humming at all, which is another topic we need to discuss.
Yeah, but also Scoop, if you're looking at the backline, I mean, we spoke about it a few weeks ago, and we mentioned that at the moment there's two players irreplaceable in this Bok team. The one is Malcolm Marx, and the other one is Jesse Kriel. There's no like replacement, and it's difficult. It was difficult for that. Ketley Arendse going out in the 9th minute or so, and then Jesse Kriel, who's been their anchor on defense and also running those attacking lines, setting up the shape and attack. He was the one that played out on the wing. So you had the Islander playing 13 and Esterhuizen playing 12, two big boys. How much ball is the wings going to see from those two boys? So that
because they just want to carry.
That was something that disrupted that backline as well. As much as we can give a lot of criticism to Sasha and to Willem and Co, I think that was one of the main things and one of the main reasons yesterday as to why they looked out of sync in their backline, why it looked like it, because the anchor man, they must underrated player. I would say one of the most underrated players in world rugby at the moment, in Jesse Kriel, who played out of position yesterday for 70 minutes in this test match.
Fair. No, fair, because also he was asked to play out of position as well. But I mean, it's the risk that comes with it at the end of the day, right? If you choose a certain personnel, you do a 6-2, but it's not really a 6-2. If Esterhuizen is going to go to the back line, and Josh Morby, I must say, was put to the task on Saturday defensively. Attack wise, with ball in hand, I'm happy with him, but I think he missed two crucial tackles during the game. He missed the Esterhuizen one, where Esterhuizen went on and scored, and then there was another one early, in the second half where I thought, oh, that's a missed tackle, and then he just gave the Springboks a bit of ascendancy. So those, for me, in terms of defense, were probably the only two major moments regarding that aspect. But I mean, let's talk about Siya Kolisi and not playing in this game. Rassie did say that they could have chosen him, but they thought that it would be best to save him Saturday and probably play him the following week in Cape Town. I mean, do you think he was missed during this game regarding physical impact, breakdown, leadership, whatever other aspects Siya Kolisi brings to the Springbok team? In your thoughts from what you saw yesterday, do you think there was a gaping hole where he would be missed in such an important test match?
His leadership was missed. On the field. But I mean, you can say that also, but you got to remember that the Boks, when they went into crunch time in the 2023 World Cup, they made some big decisions without Siya on the field. So for me also, I don't know, can you really state that Siya was most good at leadership, because they got quite a big experience back in the team there, but they missed his presence there. If he was on the field, would they have kicked to poles and maybe gotten a 7-point lead or something like that, against the All Blacks, and maybe worked on working on the scoreboard, trying to get up scoreboard pressure, and then making the All Blacks force their hand to really play and throw the ball around. Maybe would have done that. We could also answer and say they were so dominant at scrum time, they had them on the ropes, they just needed to score that try. And then maybe they felt the dam would have burst or the All Blacks. So it's very difficult to say, they must be a Kolisi. I'd say missing in terms of his leadership. Obviously, Siya Kolisi is a born leader. But it shouldn't be an excuse for this team, because they do have a lot of leaders on this team. Whether Paul de Villiers offers the same thing as Siya, that remains to be seen, because they are two completely different players at 6. Where Siya is more of a grafter. He hits a lot of rucks. He's good with ball in hand. Paul de Villiers is a breakdown specialist. He's like that. He's over the ball, gets over the ball. He links up play, he runs. He's got a good running game. But I think with CI, there's two different types of sixes. Open side flankers. The one is very, very feature orientated, like Villiers is. And Sia's more, out and out, makes a lot of tackles. He's there, hits a lot of rucks. That's what Sia does in this team. Controls the tempo, stands outside, it takes the ball in the tram lines, in the trenches. That's what he does. So, yeah, anybody will miss the captain. But I don't think we should make an excuse that you must Sia Kolisi when you have this leadership on the field, I don't know how you feel about it, Scoop, but that's my point.
Yeah, no, I agree with you when it comes to the leadership aspect. For me personally, I thought it would be such a massive, massive loss not to have Sia Kolisi, but I think media-wise, nobody made like a big fuss about him not playing. It's as if people were like, oh, we're happy to move on. Or maybe Paul de Villiers is better than him. Or that's the sense I got just from a media perspective in terms of, if Jasper Visa was not available, and they played Kobus Visa at 8, you would understand that there would be some traction or some form of information regarding what the Boks actually miss when they don't have Jasper Visa, right? Yeah. You're missing that ball carry. Sia Kolisi is a formidable ball carrier. That part, I mean, people underestimate his rugby IQ, his presence on the field, his leadership on the field, his actual understanding of the breakdown and how important he is to getting around the park, especially on the edge plays. All Blacks love playing edge rugby, but they didn't play a lot of edge rugby this Saturday. But at the end of the day, Kolisi I think is much better in that element. I mean, how many turnovers did Paul de Villiers get last night?
I think he got two for the most, yeah.
Is it? Yeah, but
2 for the most.
So for me personally, I think Sia Kolisi needs to come back. Also on the leadership aspect, Pieter-Steph du Toit, I didn't see him once talk to Matthew Carley. The only people I saw talking to Matthew Carley was Sasha Feinberg Mngomezulu
and Jesse Creel.
And Jesse Creel. So for me, that raises questions on Pieter-Steph's leadership and captaincy. The only thing he knows, without being rude, but the only thing he knows is to ask for scrums. Every single time.
Does he have that relationship? Scoop, I want to go back a little bit, and I think you'll enjoy this. In 1996 was the time where Francois Pienaar stepped down and Gary Tushman took over, right? That was the year 1996 with the New Zealand, the last tour year. So I don't want this Sia era to end like this. I would like him to go out in the World Cup or so. I would like him to go right through. The other thing is that, Jesse Creel has always been the vice captain of the team. Maybe, they should have just given it to Jesse Creel. But what respect does Carley have if you, the referee at the moment, and I always go back to the Victor Matfield and John Smith difference there. When in the past, when the Boks played with Victor Matfield and John Smith in the team, John Smith was the captain, right? The refs had so much respect for him. And sometimes I felt when John Smith didn't play, Victor took over as captain, the refs didn't give him that much respect as they gave for John Smith, because that was the way, the relationship and the talk that John Smith had with the referees on the field. That was the main thing that John Smith had. Now, I don't know if Pieter-Steph is a person. He's well respected around the world. He's one of the greats. I don't know if he has that relationship with the referee and the official, because I think yesterday, if we had to ask Carley, who does he have more respect for, before the game, Pieter-Steph or Ardie? I'm telling you now, he would say Ardie.
Yeah.
But if Sia was there, it would have been a 50-50. It's just a relationship that you do. I don't think Pieter-Steph has that relationship. He doesn't know how to approach a referee like the other captain does, That's the difference between the two.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point as well. Regarding the All Blacks, Jade, forward pack wise, what distinctively stood out for you, or which player within that forward pack was impressive? It can always be based around scrum. It can be based around the breakdown. It can be based around the line out as well. What did you see? Who stood out for you?
obviously the one that stood out for two that stood out for me, and I have to give kudos to them, would be Bao and Fletcher for coming on. I mean, I'm not a big George Bao fan, but I saw yesterday. Okay,
I know you're not a big fan.
Not a big fan, but I said, okay, he can scrum. So I'm going to give them props, obviously. And Asaf Moa came on, and he just
no pun intended.
Yeah, he just looked like bullying everybody when he came on that field. And he came on this beast mode. You look at this guy, it's like, oh, this guy's built like a bouncer. He looks like somebody that can, after rugby, can walk into WWE. He'll be fine. He'll suit in there. But that's just the presence that he did have. I think Asafam Boa was one. Then Fabian Holland. Boy, what an engine that this guy have on him. This guy has an engine on him. I mean, he stood up. He didn't look out of place against Nokia, and even he stood up. I think he was the best lock on the field yesterday, out of the four in the play. Tupovai was very, showed a little bit of leadership yesterday. Dangerous in those outside tram lines. Dangerous, I didn't know he has that soft skills to play that ball quickly into Moby like that. There was a few times when I saw we got the ball, and I was like, why don't you just step on the inside and create another ruck and then come around? And then later on in the game, you got better. That so for me, Tupovai. So those are the two that really stood out for me, was Tupovai, Holland, and then the three that came on from the bench, And silently, Simon Parker didn't do too bad. He did his role. He just did his role. He did what he had to do, made a lot of tackles, and that was that. I don't know who stood out for you then, Scoop, in that pack from New Zealand.
Your favorite. I think you made a joke about him a while back on this podcast, on these recordings, that he would be cutting his toenails and he'll get injured. Look, Jacobson, man, breakdown work, unbelievable. I just enjoy the way he's starting to get a bit more accurate in the breakdown. And I'm also liking the fact that he's not injured every other week now. I don't know what he drank, maybe a cup of cement, but damn, the guy is he's fully fit. And he's also got quite an engine about him. And going back to Fabian Holland, he also stood out for me. He really manned up. He wasn't being shoved around and pushed around, especially playing against a legend like Eben Etzebeth, for example. And I was like, this is what makes you great in the sport, right? Play against experienced players and showing them that you are also, you stand your ground. And he was good at line out time. He was good at trying to put Grant Williams under pressure in those box kicks at the breakdown. There's a lot of times where, I was very impressed. And Cody Taylor, a few errors here and there. I'm thinking maybe the All Blacks will go with Amua as a starter in Cape Town and Cody Taylor off the bench.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they'll keep the three Crusaders boys will start up front and let the Canes boys on the bench.
Interesting. Fair enough. But yeah, those guys stood out for me. Tupovai on the edge, like you mentioned, was pretty decent. He was good. Great ball skills as well. Good footwork. He's getting a bit more athletic. I think he's probably working on his speed as well. But one thing for me in this game, if we're breaking it down now, Jade, regarding tactics, the Springboks tactic, first and foremost, was the high line speed. Put them under pressure. If you watch that first 10 to 15 minutes, the way they were so aggressive, in their line speed and the way they wanted to put so much pressure on the All Blacks, the way they kicked off as well. They kicked right in the middle, straight to the poles, so that to give Roygaard difficult chances of exiting well from kickoff receipts. Because if you kick to the edge, let's say between the 15-meter line and the touch line, Roygaard has a very good left foot, and he can actually gain purchase from his exits, and it always lands between the 10-meter lines, halfway line area anyway. So if you notice how the Springboks kick the ball, they'll kick right down the line, deep, and then Ardie Savia trying to put him under pressure with Damian Willems chasing, and then from that breakdown, you're cutting out the angle of the exit. So I thought that was pretty smart from the box. And then the high line, in terms of pressure, high line speed that they employed to put the All Blacks under pressure. Roygaard was very smart in the breakdowns. Excuse me, guys, there's a aeroplane flying past. But regardless, the Roygaard was quite smart in not kicking the ball immediately, just putting his hands on it. You could see Nokia or Eben trying to push their luck, but Carly was very good in his positioning and managing that aspect. So for me, the Boks, I think that's and their attack as well, in terms of trying to put the passing behind the players, or the access between 12 and 10, or maybe a forward, maybe doing that split pass, or screen plays, ball finding cross a lot of times, but they were never getting the players to catch the ball, to Sasha especially. They misjudged, or they were not accurate in that regard. The All Blacks, on the other hand, in terms of tactics, line out, play one or two phases with the forwards coming around, and then moving the ball back into the blind side, catching the All Blacks, catching the Springboks off guard. A few times they did that, especially in the channel where Peter Steph Dutoy, Jasper Wiese, and Grant Williams were defending. If you look at how many times Grant Williams had to make tackles on Tupovai last night, that game plan for me was quite good. And even one of the tries with Josh Moby came through that play. All Blacks didn't do much in terms of a lot of passes or plays in the game, or they also didn't gain a lot of yards on their carries as well. So I thought the Boks defense was very good, very, very good. But they attacked. I think Rassie must just give the reins to Tony Brown and let Tony Brown take over the attack, because the attack from the Boks was very blunt. Because it feels like if they don't get ascendancy with penalties at more time, it's very difficult for them to really play rugby. They don't know how to throw the ball around, or they don't have a lot of...
Yeah, and also the schools, they look for... They milk that penalty at the more. There's so many different tactics that they can do to get that penalty at the more. I mean, we've seen it yesterday with the way they jump in the lineouts, jumping across, twisting their body, allowing the early hit. All of those tactics. I mean, that I'm not saying it's cheating, it's dark arts.
Yeah.
We really got to look deep into it. The referees won't pick it up immediately.
Yeah, but Carly was the same referee in 2023 in Twickenham, right? Where the Springboks were doing the exact same thing with Sos. What's his name? Full name? Sos. Francois Mostert. Lift him, twist his body. Do you see how much he puts his bum out? He puts his bum out every time he catches the ball. I'm like, they're trying to catch because the All Blacks, or Jason Ryan's tactic is to have your bodies already in a scrumming position when you defend the line out, or the line out more. So you're already putting your hands on the lifters. So by the time the guy lands, your head is probably just on the line of the opponent's lifters. So now when Nokia jumps, he moves his butt over across the line of touch, or the middle of the line out, so that now by the time you are trying to hit and push the guys back, what happens is now you're already getting pinged for an early hit by the referee.
Yeah, that's true. And it's a weapon. It's really been a weapon. But you mentioned something there in terms of adding the right over to Tony Brown. For me, I don't think he'll completely do that, because I think deep down they know what game they're going to play if they play in the World Cup final tomorrow. And that just shows that, okay,
it'll be the same as last night.
Same as last night. The other thing is you spoke about, and you mentioned, Cam Roygaard, delaying his kicks, sometimes dummying, or he just the Boks couldn't. But I think the Boks targeted that aspect, because remember in Super Rugby, you're not allowed to create the what do we call it? The caterpillar. So you're not allowed to
yes.
You're not allowed. So they might just be, although they're now playing international rugby, but in the back of their mind, they might just be that one ruck where Cam Roygaard is kicking, and then they just forget about that, and they allow that space for them to charge down. So they chanced it, and then it was just calmer that Fabian Holland, he got the charge down and scored the try from that, which Nokia and Evan was trying to do a whole game with Roygaard.
Yeah. True. Welcome, Griffin. Nice of you to join us.
Hello, guys. Nice to be here.
How are things in England?
Sunny, clear blue skies, mate.
Really? My goodness. Same here in Johannesburg, man. Clear blue skies. It's warm. It's shorts. I thought it was winter in South Africa. I'm now wearing shorts. I didn't even pack. I didn't even pack a lot of shorts. I got like tracksuit pants, jeans, and things like that. And now I'm wearing shorts every single day since I've landed. Anyway, what did you think of the game, Griffin? And how's the mood over there regarding this greatest rivalry? We've already touched on the week leading up to the match and the media frenzy around it as well. But how has the mood been in England when it comes to this? Or is everyone just on holiday and enjoying the sun?
Well, in terms of the rugby community, I think there's a casual interest. I think people who like their rugby are putting it on, sticking it on TV, just to see what happens. But no, I wouldn't say that anybody up here has really got a dog in the fight.
Fair enough, fair enough. And your makeup, or what, I mean, the little that you've seen or watched yesterday, your thoughts or any thoughts regarding the results, first and foremost, and your thoughts maybe on the media frenzy leading up to the test match, if you got hold or got wind of any.
I think it was a surprise result, definitely, for sure. I think everybody had the Box down as favourites. Certainly I did, and there's no point denying it. I said it on this show last week. So for it to be for the All Blacks to double them up as well, I think was a big surprise. I think we need to be careful not to analyse too much into this game because, the Springboks having a return rate from the 22 of less than 1, that might not happen again for the next 5 years. Whereas the All Blacks, I don't know, with the All Black, the All Blacks are always clinical. So maybe the All Blacks, conversion rate will always be up and around that level, but maybe they can't. Maybe it won't be above 3, close to 4 every time. So I think we need to. Not overreact. There were some things about the game that surprised me. I don't know if you talked about it already, but South Africa taking the threes.
Yeah,
I don't. I know people don't want to believe this anymore, but I keep saying it. We're not in a threes era of rugby anymore. You might as well forget threes. Threes don't win you rugby matches in 2026. I don't understand why South Africa took those options, especially because if you look at what happened directly after the restarts for those threes, it was usually a bad outcome for South Africa.
Yeah.
So that's probably something they've got to look at is their receiving of restarts. But I didn't see that all tying up. I don't understand what the thinking behind that was. And then the other thing is, I think this is probably the first time since the 2023 World Cup that everyone has pretty much predicted the South Africa starting 15 correctly, even the 23. Normally Rassie has us on our toes. Normally there's some surprises in there, but pretty much everybody predicted it. And I don't know what that means, but that's a big change, isn't it? And I was surprised at Rassie's hesitation with some substitutions and going early with some other substitutions. I don't know if you spoke about this already.
No, we haven't.
His timing of substituting, his timing of substituting Ox was weird to me. I know that Ox is coming back from injury, but I think Ox's last action before he got substituted was he made 10 meters on a carry, and then he got substituted. So I'm like, well, okay. You contrast that to them keeping Malcolm Marx on for, was it, I don't know, with a full 80, certainly a long time.
Yeah.
And I thought, I know it's going to be, everyone's going to think that it's all about agendas. Everyone's going to think that it's all about narratives and hammering a young guy. But I didn't think that Sasha played well.
Oof.
And, when we're used to seeing Rassie hook fly halves after 30 minutes, and then he leaves Sasha on for the full game when he was playing poorly, in my opinion, then that's an odd one for me. So I think there's questions to answer for Rassie in terms of the options to take the 3, I think was the wrong option. And the timing of the substitutions, very uncharacteristically for the Springboks, was wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, even Eben Hitzebeth came off around the 73rd minute for Cobus Visa to replace him. I was like, whoa. Eben has played a lot. I guess also he probably needs a bit of mileage as well to oil and grease those joints, Eben, because he's hardly played any rugby, to be honest. So he probably needs a lot of game time. But you mentioned something that was next up on my topic regarding 10, and obviously Jade, Grant, and Sasha. I don't know what you think about this combination, but it did not bode well for the Springboks on Saturday last night?
Yeah, I did not. Sasha looked indecisive at moments in the field, not sure, whether to run, to kick, or to pass. And
Yeah.
I think if it was 5 decisions he made, he got 3 of them wrong yesterday during the game. So I'm just giving that general aspect of him. I don't know if it's a concern or we should ring the alarm bells, but for me, I wouldn't be selecting Sasha to play this weekend. I think I'd even have Andre Pollard on the bench instead of him. I'll completely just phase him in again later on. For me, I don't think Grant Williams didn't do too bad, considering the disruptance in the background, like in the back line, like I mentioned, with Creel going off. I think there was a lot of disruptance there. But yeah, Sasha for me didn't have the best of games. It's his second game in a row since he's back from injury. He hasn't been at his best. Doesn't mean that he's a bad play overnight. I just would rather give Manie Lebok the reign next week in Cape Town.
I think we all thought that Manie would be the starter, right? When we were mentioning the team last week Sunday. But it was quite odd to see what transpired. Yeah, he also couldn't get that backline motoring, man, humming.
And they couldn't get Damien Willems involved in the background, in the backline.
Yeah.
In Wellington, where off second phase ball, you'd say Damien Willems are coming around the corner. Now you don't know what you're going to do, because remember, Willems might be 15. He's not a small boy. He can stand contact as well. He can run the ball straight at you as well. So we didn't have that as well. Damien Willems had to create his own opportunities in the game. And for somebody with that world-class quality, you don't want that, If you look at the difference between Willems and, let's say, Jody Barrett yesterday, who for me was the man of the match yesterday.
Yeah.
Every time Barrett got the ball, something happened. Whether it was a bridge pass, playing it wide, kicking the ball, making tackles, making steals, it happened. But and he was involved in the game, although New Zealand at times didn't have much of the ball. Jody Barrett was still involved in the game. Whereas Damien Willems, for me, it was, the game went flat for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then you only see him get involved in the game again. So I think that's one thing they got to do. They got to get this man more involved in the game.
Yeah, but next week I think they'll be more conservative, the Springboks. If they put Manie on, I know Manie is going to be kicking the leather off that ball every single time they get it. So they're going to put more. I mean, they didn't challenge the All Blacks with their kicks in the air a lot. Let's say probably like 3 or 4 or 5 kicks that were challenged in the air, but it wasn't an aerial contest in this game, because I think they backed their physicality, the Springboks, and thought they would bully their way through the All Blacks. But lucky enough for the New Zealanders, they could stand up against the Boks, and they were quite good on defense as well. I mean, to not have the Boks score any points in the second half, that's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, Hugh.
I felt like, from what I did see, I felt like the Springboks were trying to prove a point in this game. And this wasn't just about beating the All Blacks. It was about the style of rugby that they played to beat them.
Yeah.
And whereas the All Blacks were just like, we're just here to win the game, lads. We're just here to do what it takes to win the game. Whereas it was important for the Springboks to win in a certain way, playing Springbok rugby. And True. I do think that, it's easy to say, hindsight is 20/20. But I do think there were some people in the lead up to the game who were kind of like, because the big narrative, which we all bought into, was these two teams play opposite styles of rugby, which is what, a lot of the eye test and the stats backed up. But there's a lot of people who are kind of thinking that the Boks are number one, so everything that the Boks do is right, and if anybody does anything different to the Boks, it must therefore be wrong. And I feel like there was kind of a bit of drinking the Kool-Aid on that. And like I said, it wasn't about just winning. It was a bit like, and I was thinking about this earlier, and I can't remember whether it was last year or the year before, but do you remember the game against Ireland where they kept taking the scrums?
Yeah.
And they kept taking the scrums in Ireland's line, and they kept taking the scrums, and they kept winning scrum penalties, but they never scored a point.
True.
So they were down on Ireland's 5 meter for it felt like forever.
Yeah.
Like you could go for a walk, come back, and they were still there. And it was like they were trying to prove a point, But ultimately, the scoreline at the end of that game probably didn't reflect the dominance that South Africa had.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit like that. I just felt that they didn't want to score points like the non-South African way, if that makes sense. They wanted to do it the South African way. Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you fully, loud and clear. That makes so much sense. And the point about Ireland is also now a very valid point, I believe, because I think they could have put Ireland away with a bigger score. But if you look at that score and how they won, I think it was 24-13 or 24-17 or something like that against Ireland, where if you were watching that game, you would think that the Springboks were leading by like 50 points or something. That's a very good point, Hugh, that you make as well. And then moving into the hooker conversation, Hugh Griffin, you've mentioned this before about Malcolm Marx, but Jan-Hendrik Wessels came on, but he went to prop Jade. On the team sheet, he was supposed to be a what's his name? He was supposed to be a hooker.
Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you guys that they're gonna play? You'll see them use 3 loose-head props in this game. At the time, and Malcolm
Steenekamp played 15 minutes, guys. He came on for Ox and then went off again.
Yeah. It was always going to be the plan. I think Ox went on a little bit too long. I think the plan was for give Ox off and to give the other two 20-20.
Have you ever seen a team use 3 different props in a match? Never.
On the same side?
On the same side? Never.
Never.
Talk to me, Jade. Do they need a hooker?
Are they going to trust the hooker? I mean, are they going to trust that hooker? Is that hooker going to be capable of replacing or pushing Malcolm Marx? That's the concern. Malcolm Marx is, like I said, he's irreplaceable in this team. So I mentioned it a few weeks ago that if Malcolm Marx is injured, they're screwed. Because the previous they had Bongi and they had, Dion Fourie who could do this. But it's always been the thing with Rassie. It's always been, 2 hookers and then one utility, one that can cover at hooker. I mean, you've seen Marco van Staden covering there. I mean, he's not the international hooker. Dion Fourie doing it in the World Cup final against all odds. In the last World Cup, 2019, they had Skalk Brits, I think. Wasn't he there?
Yeah.
In World Cup, although in the latter end of his career, he played a lot of his rugby at loose forward. So they've always had that. But Malcolm Marx is the man. I don't see them, Scoop. I really don't see them having another hooker in before this World Cup. I think that's the way they're going to go. And Hendrik Wessels will always be backup and Grobelaar. So if Marx is injured and out, Grobelaar comes in and starts, and Wessels will be the backup, unless, like I said, Bongi can make a full recovery. Other than that, who is there? There's nobody.
That Cape Town Western Province guy.
And Adrian Fenton. Bro, you No, you're going to lose all your lineouts. The lineouts is really wobbling.
Jeez. Okay, Hugh.
Yeah, just kind of, I don't know if you guys have spoken about it, but what impact do you think that Creel going to the wing really had? Because people are talking about it. I don't think it changed that much.
No, there was nothing.
To be honest. If you look at where New Zealand's tries came from, I'm not sure Creel being at 13 makes a difference there, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, no, fair. I think now that you mention it, I also remember, I think Grant also moved to the wing when Colby came off. And I think the All Blacks kind of played in those channels a lot more to kind of put them under pressure. And I mean, it's also very good tactic, to be honest. And when you, I don't think we spoke about how Sasha is also not getting that backline humming. I mean, 12 and 13 for the Boks last night were nowhere in that game, And I think that also stems from a 10 that probably carries a lot, So he's supposed to get that backline humming. And I think without a fly off like a Pollard or Manny Libok, it's going to be a struggle to get that South African midfield humming or playing good rugby and getting a lot of ball. I mean, a guy like Creel, a guy like DDA, Damien Dealende, they need a lot ball. They are big ball carriers. They need a lot more ball, right? If they're not getting a lot more ball and you only want to give the centers ball when Andre Esterhuizen is there, then there's an issue, right? Because, I mean, DDA playing 100th cap, not having a lot of touches, probably made like 10, 15 meters the whole game. I mean, Jesse Creel, for example, how many touches did he get? One when he was at 13. How many touches did he get when he moved to wing as well? Not a lot. So yeah, it was a. For me personally, I don't think they had their best game. They were really not at their best, Creel and Dialende yesterday. Jordy Barrett, I mean, he was superb in this game. A lot of touches, a lot of first receiver touches as well. Ruben Love, he doesn't have to do much. He really does not have to do much. Just basically play patient rugby, kick for ball, kick for poles, get ascendancy for the team, give the ball to the right players that are in the right area. That's all he did, you know? And percentage rugby. This is how you grow as well in terms of confidence, because if you start making mistakes, like elementary mistakes, trust me, your confidence is going to go. Because now looking at Sasha and looking at Ruben Love, I mean, which is the standout 10 from both 10s? Ruben Love. We expected a big match temperament from both 10s. And I think Ruben Love stood out in this one more than Sasha did. Sasha tried a lot of things, but he was fumbling a lot, made a lot of elementary mistakes. I think that's why they even moved him to fullback at the end of that game, you know. So it's I don't know, man. The impact, the injuries as well earlier on kind of messed things up for the Springboks. With KLA coming off quite early with the HIA, and obviously he won't be playing next week because he wasn't allowed to come back on, so he failed it. So I don't know who the Boks will go with on wing. Maybe Ken Moody comes back, or Apelele Fasi goes to fullback, Willemse goes to center. Who knows, you know, because whoever comes in now is not going to be as strong as Kurtley Arendse. Let's be honest. And if Colby is injured, that's another impact, you know, because he walked off as well with the limp. So the backline shift, whoever comes in for KLA, Colby, or Willemse, or because at 10 they always covered. I think midfield and the back three, that there could be some problems or issues. And I don't know what you guys think. If you are Rassie Erasmus, do you think you name your team on Monday or Tuesday this week?
He's naming his team on Thursday, bro. He's naming his team
again.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna name that team on Thursday. Definitely. There's no way he'll do it on Monday or Tuesday. And I think what's his name comes in. Edwil van der Merwe will come in, and Moody. I think that's the two that will come in for those two. So yeah, but Rassie's not gonna announce his team.
Do you think Moody and
yeah, I think Quan Horn is playing for the Lions tomorrow on Tuesday, so he's out. He won't be playing. So yeah, we can read into that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, Hugh, your thoughts? Big Joe Dweber.
I don't know. I think maybe Hooker fit? Because he might come on the wing.
Ooh, that would be a good player to use, actually. I think if Hooker is fit, I think I would put him at 11, actually. That's a good point. I would put him at 11. Yeah. And I don't know. I
think I would put Hooker at 11. It's an interesting point about Moody, because where is Moody right now? You know, if we're saying that Moody is fourth choice Bok centre or second choice 13, but the gap between him and Creel for me is big.
Massive,
right
yeah.
Right
because
now,
he got exposed at the Bulls against Glasgow a few times, got exposed against Leinster in the final. Yeah. So I don't know if Rassie trusts him against this All Black side. Anyway, sorry to cut you off.
So yeah, so that's the change. I think that you would probably want to keep Willemse at fullback, because I still think your strongest, like your best 12 is still Dialende, your best 13 is still Creel, your best fullback is still Willemse, and you've got to have Willemse on the pitch. I don't understand this. Unless Willemse is injured, I don't understand this taking Willemse off and putting Sasha at fullback. I don't see how that's better. And it's starting to get a bit now like why doesn't Rassie want to take Sasha off even if he's playing badly? You know, that's again, it comes back to the substitutions. In terms of other changes to come in, I mean, if Khaleesi gets back fit, he'll come back in. I think there's a call to be made on Eben. And is it a case of we trust Eben, we know what he's done in this jersey, we'll stick with him. We're not going to judge him on one game. The other thing is, because if you don't play Eben, then that means you're starting Cobus Wiese. And does Cobus Wiese, has he earned that yet? He played well, but I think that's an open question. So, I don't know. It's funny, isn't it? Because we've spoken so much about, and everybody's spoken so much about the Springbok depth.
Yeah.
But now they've copped a defeat, and now we're looking around and going, actually, how many guys are there to bring in, really?
Yeah, that can actually compete at this level against the top sides. That's the question. I think that's the most important question. If you've got rugby depth, how many of those players can come in and beat the All Blacks? How many of those players can come in and beat a French side in Paris? How many of those sides can go to Ireland and beat Ireland in Dublin? Because now a lot of questions about the depth are really starting to shake the to shake the Bok camp, because they also brought in what's his name, the flanker from the Stormers, because now he's supposed to be a cover for Hooker as well, but we didn't see him in the lineup, because as Jade said, if Malcolm Marx gets injured anywhere in the series, let's say hypothetically in Cape Town, who are the other hookers that will replace Marx and perform like a Malcolm Marx, right? Because when we speak depth, for me personally, my understanding of depth is that if I remove a Marx, I've got another Marx on the bench. I've got another Marx that can also cover for the bench. You've got three hookers that are really at international level or international standard. You go back to Locks, same thing. Because now Cobus Wiese came in in the 73rd minute, and yeah, obviously probably you can't see much from him within those minutes, but there was an opportunity where the Springboks were attacking, and their attack looked blunt. Sasha got the ball. He wanted to cut back inside. There was players outside of him. They were trying to play one-off carriers as well from the deck in the 73rd minute. And I'm like, oh, also if Cobus Wiese, I thought he was a big bully, man, but he carried and he got stopped right on his tracks by Amua. And I'm like, oh, maybe not. Maybe you're not as big a ball carrier than I thought, And I think pressure is all on the box at the moment. And with the All Blacks, it's who's still standing. I think that's the most important part on the Monday's presser. Who's still standing? Or maybe the presser now, because they've announced the team, Jade, that will play the Lions as well. Should I go through that list, gents?
Yeah, I know the team. I just went through it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they're starting with Luaki starting at Lucid with Samasoni, and then they have Tossi, the locks is Perry, Daddy, and then we have the TT6, Ethan 7, Tamesi 8, Noeltham, Richie Mwanga, Jimmy the Difference, and Rico at center. Then you have Narawa, PFA and Anuku on the wing with Joe Bowden Barrett. Interesting there, the giveaway is that Jamie Hanna and Ofatuanga Fassi come straight through from the plane onto the bench.
Really?
So, yeah, this shows that, this guy's name, Ethan the Groot won't play this weekend. He's definitely out, and Josh Lord as well. I don't think they'll make it this weekend, so it means that Xavier Numia comes into the match to 23. So from an All Black perspective, I think it will be more or less the same. They maybe just tweak, depending on Anton Segner, what happens with him. I would personally rotate a little bit and just see what other guys can do. I'd freshen up that Lucy's a little bit. I'd move Vi back to 5 just to see Scoop. That's all. Just to have another get out this guy how they play. We know what Vi can do at 6. Let's see him at 5 with Holland. Let's get Segner in at 6 maybe. Maybe you can look at giving Ethan Blackadder, if he wasn't there, maybe that role or with Ardy. Just chopping and changing, just checking a little bit, not too much. The backline will stay more or less the same, but I would just freshen up in front, just to keep guys on their toes and just to freshen up and see combinations, what other certain guys can do in certain situations. But yeah, I think it will be more or less the same from Rennie. I think it will be more or less the same. But yeah, it's going to be difficult to note if they can go 3 in a row with the same team because you can have to freshen up somewhere,
Yeah.
And there'll be more injuries after this game. There'll be more injuries.
100%. And Griffin, your thoughts on starting lineup for the Boks? I mean, where would you put changes if you had any? And with the All Blacks, do they need to make changes? And where would those changes be?
No, I don't think the All Blacks need to make changes other than if it's injury enforced.
Yeah.
I think I think you've got your clear first choices across that team now at this point, and so if they're fit, they play. And I wouldn't necessarily say there was anywhere. I mean, if in a funny way, Ethan de Groot getting injured, he was struggling at scrum time anyway. Now, whether that was just because of the Bok first choice front row or second choice, what changed there? Is it a chicken and egg situation? But I don't think it's a bad thing that the guy who came on, who appeared to study the ship, now gets another crack.
Yeah.
In terms of the Boks, I honestly think that Rassie will go unchanged. I honestly think that he'll go unchanged because I think he'll say, look, the things that happened in this game, in terms of the lack of being clinical in the 22, the types of try that we conceded, they're not gonna happen again. These are unusual tries to happen or not happen. So I think he'll say, let's just keep it calm, let's go again, and give these guys a chance to redeem themselves. Because if you throw a guy in now, it's kind of because yes, it's a 4-match tour, but there's only 3 matches in South Africa. So if you throw in a guy now, it's kind of hell, I'm kind of under pressure here. Whereas if you keep the same guys, they've had that vote of confidence, and they'll never be more motivated. So I would say keep as much the same team, to be honest. The question is now the bench. Was the bench too clever for its own good? That's there
was no impact from the bench.
The thing that I would expect to change, if anything.
There was no impact on the bench. Remember Zach Porton? We thought he was the next big thing, and I think Bauer just showed him flames at scrum time, Jade. And also Visa, like I said, no significant impact when he joined off the bench. Esterhuizen had that one breakthrough and scored a try, and probably didn't see much from him either once he came on. Marco van Staden, jeepers, where was he in the game?
Nothing, nowhere.
Nowhere, yeah. And so I don't know about the Boks, because now if you look at that bench from this past game, based on the results, you go, that was not the bomb squad that we've become accustomed to. That's not the bomb squad we've gotten used to for over the years, right? And now questions need to be answered in terms of who is the right bench for the Boks.
You had Kitsoff, right, that used to start games or come from the bench, and you had Ox coming on with a Titan and Malcolm Marx. That was the bomb. Just that 3 was the bomb squad because they gave you that impact. And then you would have another 3 Lucy's or 2 Lucy's in the lock on the bench, and but that foundation there, Oxo Kitsoff, and then you had Marks and your Titan Proc coming. That was the bomb squad, and that's why everybody mentioned it as the bomb squad, because those 3 they gave you that impact immediately at scrum time. And if you look at the game yesterday, I ask you a question, what did Peter Lakai do in the game yesterday when he came on? What did what's this guy's name? Simon Parker do in the game yesterday? Can't remember. But overall, you're giving me a judgment that the All Blacks bench was good yesterday because of what Amoa, Newell, and Bauer did coming from the bench. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's just what I'm saying when it comes to the bomb squad. I think if we look at it now also, the Boks, they don't come on at the same time anymore. Before they used to 45 to 50 minutes the bomb squad was thrown on. Now it's drips and drabs that they come onto the field. It's not the same like it was a few years ago.
No, fair. Okay, cool, guys. I think that brings us to the end, unless there's some other topics that we haven't touched on, Jade or Hugh, or something that you guys might have in your mind that you probably have questions on. Maybe we can dissect it quickly. But if there's nothing, I think that's it.
Nah, Scoop, you know what? I just want to say, it was yesterday's test match. I mean, looking at the greats, it was in the crowd yesterday. I mean, when last did we see the likes of Gary Teichmann, Fitzpatrick at rugby games? A lot of these pro rugby players and former captains, as soon as they retire, they go into the wilderness and trying to get away from the game. They don't really see them out in the media. So, but to see all of them around, to see the likes of Mayelamu, Dankare, Moko in South Africa for this tour just shows what a great tour the birth of a great tour and a great tournament that's going on, and it's going to be every 4 years. So I think we should just embrace it. This weekend, it can go anyway. The Boks can win. All Blacks can make it 2-0. It can go either way, but it's going to be another cracking test match. And like I said, props to Carly yesterday. I want to give you input on this as well, but myself and Scoop decided that yesterday was the game that could have made Carly come of age, in terms of a referee, to put his name really up there in terms of the top tier referees in the world now.
Yeah, I don't think that he got anything particularly wrong. I liked, in particular, his decision with the Ardi hit on Visa, where Visa's head rocked forward. Yeah, I thought if they send Ardi off for this, then the game's gone. And that's coming from a guy who's normally quite, hard on, head contact and upright tackles and things. The fact is that in the laws of rugby, being upright is not illegal. It's only if you hit the head that it's illegal. Yeah. So I don't think Ardi did anything wrong. So I think that Carly did well to resist the TMO, because the TMO at times decided that he wanted to get involved and have his moment, and Carly was like, "No, mate, we're just carrying on." And I thought that Carly had good empathy for the game as well. Of kind of
100%.
There are some calls that he could have made. And also, when he marked, was it Cody? He marched Cody back 10. For messing about, not putting the ball down. And the way that the Boks were always talking about slowing the game down, and he was like, I think he said at one point, like, "I'm aware of the narrative ahead of this game. Like, you don't need to tell me about the slowing it down." And I thought he kept his head. It was a massive occasion at Ellis Park, Springboks versus All Blacks. And I don't think that he got flustered at all. Compared to some other referees, I think there are other referees who would have gotten flustered at times, especially because when the Springboks are losing at home to the All Blacks when no one expected them to, and they're down to 13, a referee might be like, am I really doing this? That kind of subconscious of, do I want to send off another Springbok at home when they're losing to the All Blacks at Ellis Park?
That is true.
Charlie was like, "You're off, mate. See you later." So,
yeah. No, 100%. I think we also agreed that he wasn't flustered by this game. The occasion didn't get the better of him. He managed it quite well. The play, continuity, I think for me, that's one of the biggest things. As you've mentioned as well, with the TMO trying to chime in every now and again. It wasn't necessary, right? There was the one where Luke Jacobson is trying to get into a ruck, and I think Visa is standing on the wrong side of the ruck. So Jacobson is trying to clean, but at the same time, Kobus Reinach is trying to pick up the ball off the deck, and that ball was loose, by the way. So what's his name? Luke Jacobson makes a tackle on Visa and also makes a tackle on Reinach at the same time. Reinach ends up knocking on the ball forward, and the TMO comes in and he says, "No, it's foul play." And I'm like, "Foul play? What do you mean foul play?"
It's not Carly foul play. It's exactly these kind of technical ones. For me, that's not what the TMO is for.
Yeah, exactly.
Things like that. It's right in front of the referee.
He's watching. Yeah.
If you hit him in the head, come in for that. But
100%.
It's like a technical one. That's not what TMOs are for.
100%. Yeah. So for me, I was like, TMO, just relax, bro. Let Carly. I think he's got good assistant referees in Dixon and Nika. But yeah, it was a very good game, and I enjoyed it as well. Yes, obviously there will be one thing here and there, but in the bigger scheme of things, this is one of the best games he's had as an international official for me. I think he's working his way to that top 4, top 5 officials in World Rugby. Anything else? Last parting shot from your side, Griff?
No, I would just say everybody stay calm. There's 3 games to go. That's not, like I said, the Springboks averaging less than 1 point by 22 entry isn't going to happen again.
Fair.
So everybody just chill. Let's see what happens in the next game. It's disappointing. Yeah. But there's a long way to go yet.
100%. Thanks, Griffin. Thanks, Jade. The pod will be up on Apple Podcast. It will be up on Spotify as well. For those that don't have those two apps, you can listen to the audio on YouTube as well. But yeah, thanks, guys, and thanks to all the listeners. The team for the Lions is out. And yeah, looking forward to that. Oh, by the way, I'll be on telly tomorrow on SuperSport, talking footy. And yeah, for those that are in South Africa and have access to SuperSport, I'll be talking, what is it? Post-match after the Lions and the All Blacks game. Yeah, check you guys next week. And yeah, looking forward to more footy and Dave Rennie at the helm. Cheers, guys. Have a lovely Sunday. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.